Taoism begins where words end. That's why this article is called The Way Beyond Words. It's not just a pretty phrase, it's the heart of Taoism itself. The very first line of the Taoist classic, the Daodejing, says, "The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao." Right from the beginning, Taoism reminds us that the deepest truths cannot be captured by language. They can only be felt, lived, and experienced. But what is Taoism? It's many things at once. It's a philosophy. It's a way of living. It's a quiet, spiritual tradition, and it's a rich part of Chinese culture. Taoism doesn't give you strict commandments or detailed rules. Instead, it invites you to look at life differently, to move with the flow of nature, not against it. In a world obsessed with control, speed, and endless striving, Taoism offers a different vision. It shows us the power of letting go. It teaches that real strength comes from yielding, like water bending around a rock. That wisdom isn't something you fight for. It's something you return to, something that was already inside you. In this article, we'll walk through the beginnings of Taoism, the meaning of the Tao itself, and the main ideas that have shaped Taoist thought. We'll see how Taoism compares to other traditions like Confucianism and Buddhism. We'll explore how people live Taoism in everyday life. And finally, we'll see why Taoism, after more than 2,000 years, still speaks to us today. This isn't just a lesson in history or philosophy. It's an invitation to slow down, to look again at the world around you, and maybe to find your own way beyond words. To understand Taoism, we first have to travel back to ancient China more than 2,000 years ago. It was a time of chaos. Different kingdoms were constantly fighting for power. Armies clashed, philosophers argued. Life felt unstable, uncertain, and full of fear. People wanted answers. How to live, how to survive, how to find peace in such a broken world. Out of this storm came a new voice, a quiet one. A voice that didn't shout about rules or laws. Instead, it whispered about harmony, balance, and the deep patterns hidden within nature itself. That voice belonged to Taoism. The story begins with a man known as Laozi, meaning old master. Some say he was a real person, an ancient librarian who grew tired of the corruption around him. Others believe Laozi is more legend than fact, a symbol for timeless wisdom passed down through generations. Either way, Laozi is credited with writing a short but powerful book called the Daodejing, or the Book of the Way and its Virtue. It's only about 5,000 Chinese characters long, but its impact has been enormous. The Daodejing speaks in poetry, riddles, and paradoxes. It doesn't argue. It points, like a finger toward the moon, inviting you to see the Tao, the way, for yourself. Not long after Laozi, another brilliant figure helped shape Taoist thought, Zhuangzi, or Zhuangzi. If Laozi was the quiet sage, Zhuangzi was the playful trickster. His writings are filled with strange dreams, wild stories, and deep laughter. He taught that life and death are part of the same endless transformation, and that the wisest people move through the world with lightness and joy. At first, Taoism was simply a way of thinking, a philosophy about how to live in tune with the universe. But over time, it grew. It blended with local Chinese beliefs, ancient rituals, and practices like alchemy, medicine, and even magic. Temples were built, ceremonies developed. Taoism became both a philosophy and a religion, with priests, monks, and sacred texts. Today, scholars often talk about two branches of Taoism. The first is philosophical Taoism, focused on ideas, living simply, and following the way. The second is religious Taoism, filled with rituals, gods, and spiritual practices aiming for health, longevity, and even immortality. But no matter how it changed, the heart of Taoism has always stayed the same, a call to return to something deeper, quieter, and more natural than anything society could ever invent. So what exactly is the Tao? The short answer is, it's everything, and it's nothing. It's the source of all things, and yet it can't be fully described. In Chinese, Tao simply means way, path, or road. But when Taoists talk about the Tao, they mean something much bigger than a road you walk on. They mean the invisible flow of the universe itself, the natural order that moves through all things, giving them life and form. The Tao is the reason trees grow upward and rivers run downhill. It's the pattern behind the stars, the seasons, and the silent unfolding of your own heartbeat. It's not a god or a spirit you can pray to. It's not something separate from the world. It is the world, and the world is it. But here's the trick. If you try too hard to grasp the Tao, you miss it. The Daodejing warns us, the Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. The moment you put it into words or lock it into a system, you've already lost its true meaning. Instead, Taoism teaches us to align ourselves with the Tao by practicing something called Wu Wei. Wu Wei is often translated as non-action, but it doesn't mean sitting around doing nothing. It means acting in harmony with the flow of life, without forcing, pushing, or struggling. Think of a great dancer, moving so fluidly that it looks effortless. Or a skilled craftsman whose hands know exactly what to do without overthinking. That's Wu Wei in action. Another key idea is yin and yang. You've probably seen the famous black and white circle swirling together. Yin and yang are opposite forces, dark and light, soft and hard, passive and active. But they're not enemies. They need each other. They create balance. Just like night turns into day and winter turns into spring, life is a constant dance between opposites. Nature is the greatest teacher of the Tao. Taoists often use simple images to explain deep truths. Water flowing around rocks without resistance. A valley, low and humble, receiving everything without pride. An uncarved block of wood, pure, simple, full of infinite potential. Taoism teaches us that we are part of this great unfolding. We don't have to control it. In fact, trying to control it only leads to frustration and suffering. Real wisdom comes from seeing how little we truly need to do, and how much happens naturally when we step out of the way. If Taoism had a handbook, it would be very short, and it would probably tell you to throw the handbook away and go outside instead. At its heart, Taoism is not about learning new things. It's about unlearning. It's about peeling away the layers of habit, fear, and ambition that separate us from the natural flow of life. Let's explore some of the key ideas that run through Taoist thought. First, there's the idea of simplicity and spontaneity. Taoism sees most of the problems in life as problems we create for ourselves. We build complicated systems, set up endless rules, chase after success and praise, and in doing so, we move further away from the Tao. The Taoist way is much simpler. It tells us to trust our natural instincts, to live simply, and to act spontaneously, like a tree growing toward the sun without needing a plan. Zhuangzi loved to talk about spontaneity. In one story, he describes a skilled butcher who cuts up an ox without ever dulling his blade. How? By following the natural spaces between the bones. The butcher isn't fighting the animal's body, he's moving with it, flowing through its structure effortlessly. That's how Taoists believe we should move through life. Next comes relativity and perspective. Taoism teaches that what looks good from one angle might look bad from another. What seems big in one situation might seem tiny in another. Nothing is absolute. Everything depends on where you're standing and how you're looking. One of Zhuangzi's most famous stories is about a dream. In the dream, he's a butterfly, fluttering happily through the air, not knowing he's Zhuangzi. But when he wakes up, he wonders, is he Zhuangzi who dreamed he was a butterfly, or a butterfly now dreaming he's Zhuangzi? The line between reality and illusion becomes very thin. Taoism reminds us to be humble about what we think we know. Then there's naturalness, or ziran. This is a big word in Taoism. Ziran means so of itself, or spontaneously so. It's about things arising naturally without force. A flower blooms because it's in its nature to bloom. A river flows because that's what rivers do. Taoism encourages us to find our own ziran, to live according to our true nature, not according to someone else's expectations. Another major idea is non-dualism. We often divide the world into opposites, good and bad, life and death, success and failure. But Taoism says these divisions are illusions. Everything contains its opposite. Day turns into night. Weakness becomes strength. Failure leads to success. Instead of clinging to one side or the other, Taoism invites us to accept the whole cycle. That's why the symbol of yin and yang is so important. It shows that within darkness there is light, and within light there is darkness. They are not enemies. They are part of the same living dance. Another deep teaching in Taoism is a critique of language and knowledge. Words, Taoism says, are slippery. They divide the world into categories that don't really exist. They create boundaries where there are none. The moment we name something, we've limited it. And the moment we think we fully understand something, we've actually stopped seeing it clearly. The Tao cannot be captured in books, arguments, or doctrines. It can only be lived. Knowledge, in the Taoist sense, isn't about mastering facts. It's about seeing through illusions and reconnecting with the natural flow of things. Finally, Taoism places a huge value on freedom and detachment. Freedom doesn't mean doing whatever you want. It means being free from attachments that weigh you down. Free from rigid ideas about success, honor, reputation, and control. A Taoist sage moves through life like a drifting cloud or a flowing stream, open to change, unbothered by loss or gain. Taoist detachment isn't cold or heartless. It's full of life. It's the kind of detachment that lets you love the world without trying to possess it. It's the kind of freedom that lets you enjoy every moment without fearing its end. In all these ways, Taoism offers not a strict doctrine, but a gentle invitation to relax, to observe, to trust the unfolding of life, and to find joy, not by grasping, but by letting go. Taoism is often called one of the world's great philosophies. But if you put it next to other traditions, especially those from China and the West, you immediately see how different it feels. First, let's talk about Confucianism, Taoism's ancient neighbor, and sometimes its rival. Confucianism and Taoism grew up side by side during the same period of chaos in Chinese history. But they offered almost opposite answers to the same question. How should we live? Confucius believed that society could be fixed through structure, discipline, and proper behavior. He talked about rituals, respect for elders, education, loyalty, and duty. In Confucianism, a good life is one where you follow the right rules in the right way. Taoists looked at this and shook their heads. They believed that life doesn't need so many rules. Too much structure, they said, is like trying to straighten a river with a ruler. It only causes more trouble. Taoism says the best way to fix the world is to step back, live simply, and let nature take its course. If Confucianism is about building strong walls and careful gardens, Taoism is about wandering freely in the wild forest. Now, let's compare Taoism with Buddhism, especially Chinese Buddhism, which later blended with Taoist ideas in fascinating ways. Both Taoism and Buddhism teach that clinging too tightly causes suffering. Both encourage letting go of rigid desires and ego. Both see life as a flow rather than a fixed, permanent thing. But there are differences too. Buddhism often talks about dukkha, the suffering that comes from craving and attachment. It offers a very organized path to overcome suffering, including moral rules, meditation, and insights into the nature of emptiness. Taoism, by contrast, doesn't focus as much on suffering. It doesn't offer a system of steps to reach enlightenment. Instead, it gently points to the natural beauty and mystery that are already here, if we can only relax enough to see them. Taoism doesn't say life is suffering, it says life is change. And that change isn't a problem, it's just how things are. In a way, Taoism feels lighter, even playful, compared to the sometimes heavy seriousness of certain Buddhist schools. Moving westward, we can also compare Taoism to Stoicism, the ancient Greek philosophy. Stoicism, like Taoism, teaches acceptance of things we can't control. A Stoic learns to meet life's ups and downs with calmness and inner strength. A Taoist would agree, fighting against what life brings only leads to frustration. But the mood is different. Stoicism often feels stern, a bit like a soldier standing strong in the middle of a storm. Taoism feels more like a leaf floating on the river. The Stoic endures, the Taoist adapts. Where the Stoic says, stand firm, the Taoist says, flow around it. And then, if we think about modern Western philosophy, Taoism doesn't fit neatly at all. Western philosophy has often been obsessed with questions like, what is truth? What is reality? How can we prove what we know? It loves to divide and analyze, to debate and define. Taoism looks at all this and smiles. It reminds us that the deepest things in life, love, beauty, the Tao itself, can't be dissected with logic. They can only be lived. Where Western philosophy seeks clarity through analysis, Taoism seeks wisdom through simplicity and surrender. Finally, we can even see echoes of Taoism in existentialism, especially writers like Albert Camus and Jean-Paul Sartre. Existentialists talk about the absurdity of life, about how we must find meaning in a world that offers no clear answers. Taoism agrees that life doesn't come with neat explanations, but instead of feeling despair, Taoism feels wonder. Instead of seeing meaninglessness as a curse, Taoism sees the great dance of existence as something beautiful, even if it can't be pinned down. In the end, Taoism doesn't argue with other philosophies. It doesn't try to prove itself right. It just stands quietly by the riverbank, watching the water flow, and invites us to come sit a while. Taoism isn't just a philosophy for scholars or monks sitting in distant mountains. It's meant to be lived every day in ordinary moments by ordinary people. But what does it actually look like to live the Tao? First, let's talk about Wu Wei again, the art of effortless action. Living the Tao means learning to act without forcing. It means trusting the natural flow of events and working with them, not against them. It's like sailing. You adjust your sail to catch the wind instead of trying to blow into it yourself. It's like planting a garden. You tend the soil and water the seeds, but you don't pull on the shoots to make them grow faster. In daily life, Wu Wei might mean not micromanaging every detail of your plans. It could mean letting conversations flow naturally instead of always trying to steer them. It could even mean trusting that your creative ideas will come when you stop trying to wrestle them into existence. Another key part of living Taoism is simplicity. In a world full of noise, ads, and endless to-do lists, Taoism reminds us that more is not always better. Sometimes the best thing you can do is subtract, not add. fewer possessions, fewer rigid expectations, more space for life to breathe. Simplicity also means trusting that you don't need to pretend to be someone you're not. Taoism asks us to return to our original nature, to live honestly, without layers of false ambition or fear. In practice, this could be as simple as choosing a slower pace, eating meals without rushing, taking time to notice the sky, the trees, the feeling of your own breath. Taoism isn't found in grand gestures. It's found in the small, quiet moments when you're fully present. Now let's talk about meditation and health practices. Taoist meditation is a little different from other traditions. It's not about fighting your thoughts or reaching some distant goal. It's about becoming still enough to feel the natural rhythm inside you. Sometimes Taoist meditation focuses on breathing, following the gentle rise and fall of each breath until you feel connected to the deeper flow of life. Sometimes it involves visualizing energy or qi moving through the body's pathways. Over centuries, Taoists developed arts like Qigong and Tai Chi, slow, flowing exercises that balance the body, calm the mind, and open up the energy within. These practices aren't just about health. They are ways of tuning yourself, like a musical instrument, so that you vibrate more harmoniously with the Tao. What about Taoist ethics? Taoism doesn't lay down a strict list of do's and don'ts. Instead, it points to qualities that naturally arise when you live in harmony with the way. These include humility, because the more you realize how vast and mysterious life is, the less you feel the need to show off. Compassion, because when you feel your connection to all things, kindness becomes as natural as breathing. Flexibility, because rigid people break when life changes, but flexible people bend and survive. The Taoist sage doesn't impose their will on others. They don't try to dominate or control. Instead, they act with subtlety, gentleness, and patience. They lead by example, not by force. Taoism also embraces humor and paradox as teaching tools. Zhuangzi loved to tell absurd, playful stories. One famous story tells of a huge, useless tree that survives precisely because no one wants to cut it down. Another story tells of a man so good at swimming that he can jump into a waterfall and come out unharmed, not because he fights the current, but because he moves with it. These stories teach deep lessons about the value of being useless, about the strength found in yielding, about the wisdom found in silliness. Taoism reminds us not to take ourselves too seriously. And then there's the Taoist view of death. For Taoists, death is not the enemy. It's a natural part of the great unfolding. Just as a fruit falls from the tree when it's ripe, a person leaves this world when their time has come. Fighting death is like fighting autumn when the leaves fall. It's foolish and unnecessary. Some Taoist traditions explored practices for prolonging life, or even achieving immortality through meditation and diet and alchemy. But even these practices weren't about escaping death out of fear. They were about aligning more deeply with the rhythms of life. At its core, Taoism teaches us to meet death the same way we meet life, with openness, acceptance, and a quiet smile. In all these ways, living the Tao is not about doing something extraordinary. It's about doing the ordinary things, walking, eating, working, loving, in an extraordinary way, with presence, humility, and a deep trust in the hidden order of things. Taoism invites us to see life as it really is, not as a battle to be won, not as a puzzle to be solved, but as a vast, beautiful river to be floated along with wonder, gratitude, and peace. Taoism may have been born in ancient China, but its spirit has never stayed locked in the past. Like the Tao itself, Taoism has flowed through time, quietly shaping cultures, arts, and even modern life in ways many people don't realize. First, let's look at Taoism's influence on Chinese culture. You can see the touch of Taoism everywhere, in traditional Chinese painting, poetry, calligraphy, and even architecture. Ancient Chinese paintings often show tiny human figures standing quietly before vast landscapes of mountains, rivers, and mist. The message is clear: nature is vast, humans are small, and true wisdom lies in living humbly within the great unfolding. Chinese poetry, especially during the Tang dynasty, is full of Taoist themes. Mountains, rivers, wandering, detachment, the fleeting beauty of life. Poets like Li Bai wrote about drinking wine under the moon, losing themselves in the wildness of nature and laughing at the troubles of the world. In traditional Chinese medicine, Taoist ideas about balance and flow are foundational. Practices like acupuncture, herbal medicine, and qigong are all based on the idea that health comes from harmony within the body and between the body and the environment. In martial arts, Taoism shaped forms like Tai Chi and Daodejing, which focus on fluid, circular movements rather than brute force. The idea is not to overpower an opponent, but to move with them, redirecting their energy like a river flowing around a rock. But Taoism didn't stay only in China. Starting in the 19th and 20th centuries, Taoist ideas began to spread more widely across the world. Today, you can find the spirit of Taoism influencing everything from philosophy to psychology, from business leadership to environmental movements. In the West, people often discovered Taoism through translations of the Daodejing and the writings of Zhuangzi. Writers, thinkers, and artists found in Taoism a refreshing alternative to the busy, rigid structures of modern industrial life. In leadership and management, Taoist ideas show up in surprising ways. Many modern leadership books talk about the power of leading by example, empowering teams to act naturally and not over-controlling the process. These ideas are pure Taoism. A good leader, like a Taoist sage, doesn't dominate. They create space for others to grow and move naturally towards shared goals. In technology and design, you see echoes of Taoism too. The idea of simplicity, removing clutter, focusing on flow, making systems that feel intuitive, has deep roots in Taoist thinking. When designers talk about designing for flow or getting out of the user's way, they are, whether they know it or not, speaking a language Taoism has been whispering for centuries. And in environmental philosophy, Taoism's message feels more urgent than ever. Taoism teaches that humans are not separate from nature. We are part of the same living system. When we try to dominate or exploit nature, we harm ourselves. The Taoist vision reminds us to live lightly, to respect the rhythms of the earth, to remember that the mountains and rivers are not just resources, they are expressions of the same Tao that flows through us. But as with many ancient traditions, Taoism's encounter with modern life hasn't been without problems. In the West especially, Taoism has sometimes been simplified or even distorted into easy slogans. Books like The Tao of Pu made Taoism accessible and friendly, but also risked turning a deep, complex tradition into a kind of feel-good self-help. Some modern teachings cherry-pick Taoist ideas about going with the flow without acknowledging the discipline, patience, and deep wisdom that true Taoist living requires. Taoism isn't just about relaxing and doing whatever you want. It's about aligning yourself with humility and respect to the deeper currents of life, currents that require careful attention, courage, and a willingness to let go of ego. In spite of these misunderstandings, the core of Taoism still shines through. Every time someone chooses simplicity over clutter, patience over force, kindness over pride, every time someone listens carefully to the rhythms of life instead of fighting them, Taoism is alive. It doesn't matter if they call it Taoism. The Tao doesn't need a name. It just needs to be lived. And so, even today, across oceans, across cultures, across centuries, the quiet wisdom of the Tao continues to flow, shaping lives, softening hearts, and reminding us of a truth too deep for words. Taoism does not end in answers. It ends in mystery. And that is exactly where it should. Throughout this journey, we have seen how Taoism refuses to lock life into rigid definitions. It doesn't promise to solve every problem or deliver final truths. Instead, it invites us to step back, to soften our grip, and to trust the deeper flow that moves through everything. The Tao is not a thing we can catch. It's not a destination we can reach by working harder or thinking smarter. It's already here, silent, invisible, patient, moving in the growth of the trees, the sweep of the clouds, the beating of our hearts. It is the way beyond words. Taoism teaches us that wisdom is not about conquering life. It's about cooperating with it. It's about seeing that the river already knows how to reach the sea. Our task is not to fight the current, but to join it with courage, with humility, and with joy. It reminds us that strength comes from flexibility, that true power comes from gentleness, that life is not a problem to be solved, but a mystery to be lived. In a world that often demands constant striving, Taoism offers a different kind of strength, the strength to stop, to breathe, to listen. It offers a way of moving through life lightly, gracefully, without unnecessary struggle. It teaches that we don't have to have all the answers. We don't have to be perfect. We don't have to control everything. We are already part of something vast and beautiful, whether we realize it or not. And maybe the greatest wisdom, in the end, is to accept that we will never fully understand this mystery. And that's exactly what makes life so precious. As the Daodejing says, those who know do not speak. Those who speak do not know. And so we leave the last words to the Tao itself, silent, living, flowing through all things. Where words fall away, the way begins. Thank you for taking the time to journey through the world of Taoism with me today. If this exploration gave you something to think about, helped you see life a little differently, or simply offered a moment of peace, I invite you to support this channel. Please remember to like the video, subscribe for more deep dives into philosophy and the art of living, and share it with anyone you think would appreciate this quiet wisdom. Your support helps us keep creating thoughtful, meaningful content, and it helps spread ideas that can make the world a little gentler, a little wiser, and a little more connected. Until next time, stay curious, stay open, and keep flowing with the way.